You're listening to the Money Monopolizers podcast, helping you take control of your financial destiny. It's about time that we invest more in our financial literacy and work towards building generational wealth. If you think you're ready to do the same, then you've come to the right place. Alex, Marlon, y'all ready? Let's get this bread.
What's good, everybody? It's Alex Camuno here. We are back with episode 13 of the Money Monopolizers podcast. I'm here with my co-host, Marlon Walls. Marlon, how you doing today, bro?
I'm doing good. I ain't got much to say today, man. I'm just excited for another episode. Continue on with this real estate series. What about you?
Straight to business. I like it. I'm doing good. Same old same. We just, continuing this series. Hopefully we close on that house this week. So that's the goal. Didn't happen last week, but hopefully it can happen this week. Other than that, I got a showing today later for my unit over here, so hopefully that goes well. Haven't been going well so far, but
for that house hack.
Yeah. So just trying to take care of that, get that taken care of. But other than that, you know what it is. Same old hustle. So yeah, but we are continuing our series, the getting started investing in real estate series. We're building off of parts 1, 2, and 3 this week, talking part 4. Last week we finished talking about what did we talk about last week?
The market, fool.
Oh yeah. We're continuing our series this week, getting started investing in real estate. This will be part 4 this week, building off of parts 1, 2, and 3. Last week, we talked about choosing a market and how you can go about doing that. And that was based off the previous episode, which was based off the previous episode. So as you could tell, this episode will be based off of building off of last episode. So this week, we're going to be talking about, your team members and building your team and why that's so important. So when I say team, I'm essentially just talking about having any reliable people, in your corner, or not necessarily in your corner. Because when I say team, I don't really mean I don't mean like your partners or like anything like that, or business partners or anything. I'm talking, the people that you're going to be working with, right? These are the team members that I'm talking about. We're going to kind of get into who those are here in a little second. But yeah, when I say that, that's really what I mean. And these people, they don't even need to know that they are a part of your team. You just need to know that they're a part of your team. And these are your go-to people that you're going to be using, right?
Yeah, for sure. I know last episode we hinted a lot at having people on your team, like the agents. We mentioned how agents are a key factor when you're looking at a market, like trying to choose the right market. You want to have somebody like a boots on the ground guy who actually knows what's going on. And I want to point out that people fear getting into real estate because they feel like everything has to be done themselves. They feel like when they get into real estate, they need to understand the market. They need to have their financial house in order. They need to be able to manage the property, buy the property, rehab it, everything by themselves. And it's like, for instance, I get asked so many times from people because they saw us do our flip on a house. They were like, "Hey, did you do all the contracting work yourself? Like, did you do all the rehab work?"
Bro, for real.
I'm like, no, man, I ain't do all that. Like, that's somebody on my team that's doing that. So that's why we feel like that the team members are so important that they should be in their own episode, because when you're investing in real estate, your team is what makes your business thrive. Yeah. It's just like with a basketball team, you have 5 positions to fill in order to actually have a team that can go out there and play and compete at the highest level. You can't just sit here and have, I don't care how good your person is. It could be LeBron James. Kobe Bryant. I was going to get to him. Kobe Bryant. Like Alex boy, Kobe. So I got to put a special shout out to Kobe Bryant.
Kobe will win 105.
I don't care who it is. They can't win 105. I don't care who they playing. If they playing at the whatever level that they are, if like Kobe playing the NBA, if he playing NBA level, he ain't winning 105. I don't care if he playing the Charlotte Bobcats of 2012.
I know you saw him. You saw when he scored 81.
I don't care, but guess what? He had 4 other players on the team to pass the ball.
Nobody worried about them.
All right. Either way, you need to have a team in real estate just how you need a team in any sport that you play, because when you surround yourself with these people, they're able to propel you to new heights as far as your success can get to, because you only can do so much by yourself. But it's like an exponential increase. When you have two people, you can have way more than two people's worth of work done at a time. So, and especially when you have somebody who's knowledgeable in something like an agent with the real estate market, it's very key to have somebody like that on your team, because you don't have to gain all that knowledge. You have somebody on your team who can actually, who actually has the knowledge already and who can help you out along the way.
Exactly.
So that's just what we want to make a case for the team members that you should have when you enter real estate investing.
Mm-hmm. And that reminds me, I think I mentioned this to you last week. I was reading a book. I forgot what book I was reading, but there was a quote in there by Henry Ford, and he was talking about, he was being litigated by someone, but he was in court, and they were like questioning him about, like, his Henry Ford is the guy that created Ford. For those who don't know, that's like a pioneer in the auto industry. But anyways, this was a long time ago when he was still alive, and he was in court, and they were questioning him, and they were asking him a bunch of questions, and they like piled up a bunch of questions on him, and he said, hold on, let me call my assistants to get those answers for you. He told him, he said, well, I mean, I don't need to know how to do this stuff. I don't need to know how these things are done. I just hire smarter people than me to do these things, right? I hire experts in these fields to do these things. So if you have a question about that, I can call them and get you that answer, right? And then he followed that up by saying, thinking is one of the hardest things out there. That's why so few people actually do it. Mm-hmm. So, I say that to say, like, your team they're the ones that, like Marlon said, they're the ones that are going to propel you to these new heights and allow you to, reach things that you wouldn't be able to do on your own. So the stronger your team is, the more successful you're going to be, inevitably. So that's kind of what we want to talk about today and touch on. And, I guess in detail, touch on each of these key pieces of a team. So starting off, the first member of your team, and this is necessarily you don't need this person, but I definitely want to mention it. The first person that you should, be kind of looking to acquire in your team is your mentor. So, excuse me, like I said, it's not necessary, but it can be helpful to have when things get tough or you need some motivation, because things will get tough. So when I say a mentor, I'm just talking about someone who has successfully done what you want to achieve, right? Keyword successfully. Someone that has done it and has done it successfully, and, they're in a position you want to get to, right? It's not a paid coach. It's different. That's completely different. And it's not like an advisor, right? An advisor, when I say an advisor is someone that they tell you how to do it, but they haven't personally done it themselves, right? So, I mean, it's just like if you're trying to lose weight or you're in the gym or something and you have a trainer, right? You're not going to take fitness advice from your trainer if they're out of shape, right? You're not going to take fitness advice from them. It's not logical. So if your mentor needs to be someone that is, in a position that they need to be, someone that has done what you have, in a position that you want to be in, and someone that has done what you want to do. So, So I think whenever you are looking for a mentor, you have to, definitely be looking, when we're talking specifically about real estate, you need to definitely be looking for someone in your area that also invests in real estate. Just going back to what I said earlier. So I kind of want to go through how you should, be looking to find a potential mentor. So the first step of finding a mentor is identifying the person doing what you want to do and living your ideal life. So you decide that you want to invest in real estate, right? Well, you should be able to find someone around you in your area that is doing that exact thing that you want to do, right? If you want to flip, you should be able to find someone that's flipping in your area. If you want to be a rental property manager, you should be able to find a successful landlord in your area, right? And be able to, identify what that person is and what they do. So in order to find that person, you should be positioning yourself where these people are congregating, right? You should be going to real estate networking events, asking family and friends who their landlord is, asking real estate agents to introduce you to other investors, right? That's how you position yourself to find these people. You're putting yourself in a position to get lucky in a sense, right? You're creating your own luck by doing that. So that's kind of how you should be trying to find that. After you have identified that person, the next step is to figure out what they are trying to accomplish. What is it? What is their mission? Are they trying to flip houses? Are they trying to wholesale? Are they trying to acquire rental properties? Are they trying to acquire small multifamily? What are they doing? Find out what they're doing and identify that. After that, this is the very important part. Please listen to this. The most important part. You have to figure out how you can add value to them in their mission. Add value to them in their mission, right? Add value. That's the key words there. How do you add value? How can you make their lives easier, right? So some examples of this, and this is just from, my own personal experience too, is like doing small maintenance, right? Helping them with small maintenance, cleaning their helping them clean properties after a tenant moves out, helping them with any type of rehab, showing properties, screening tenants, anything that helps them, right? That's very key because that shows them that, oh, wow, this person, actually cares about what I'm doing and wants to help me advance. So that's a very important key part. Next key part, which is, I think, just as important, is make sure you're not asking them how you can help. You're telling them how you're going to help them or how you can help them, right? So the key here is not telling them something like, oh, hey, I'd love to be a part of this, or I'd love to, help in helping your mission. And then they ask how, and you say, well, I don't know, whatever you need, anything you need me to do, I can do it. Like, no, you don't do that. That's not how you approach someone that you need something from, right? You have to, but because you got to understand, when you ask someone, how can I help, like asking them how they need help, that's you're essentially just giving them a job now. You're giving them the job of finding something for you to do. So how is that beneficial to them? How is that advancing them? It's not. You're and on top of that, they might not even need your help. So now you're really giving them a tougher job. So it just doesn't make sense. You need to find out what they need and tell them how you can help, right? That's very, very, very important. And I'm sure if I thought hard enough, I could find a better analogy, but I couldn't think of one in time. So the next part is to, I think after you've told them how you can help them and how you will help them, is to deliver on that promise of help. Self-explanatory. Just deliver. Do whatever it is you say. Then and only then can you ask them to mentor you. After you have, found out how you can add value to them and you have delivered on that, then you can ask them, hey, would you mind, being my mentor? And you take what they say. So that's kind of how you should be approaching that. You have to understand that you're trying to develop that relationship too. It's very important to understand that mentorships are developed the same way that friendships are really developed. Because you got to, think about like the last or the most recent friend that you've made. You didn't just go up to them and say, hey, can you be my friend? You developed a relationship over time, right? You had a few conversations here, and then conversation got stronger. And now you have a stronger relationship over time. It didn't just happen just because you just saw it. Maybe it did. And some people might do that, but that's not typically how friendships are developed, right? So anyways, that's kind of how you should be going about looking to find a mentor and, what you should do when you find one. So, and all that kind of stuff is applicable for even partnerships or really anything in life that you want to do with anyone else. If you want to accomplish something with anyone else, those are steps that you could really take. And once you develop that relationship, you're going to end up learning from, their real life experiences and gain their real life connections too. Just by associating with those people, you're going to inevitably learn from their experiences and gain their connections.
Man, there was a whole lot of good things to take away from what Alex just said just now about finding the right mentor. I do want to say, like, he mentioned networking events earlier, and I want just to give a special shout out to the Meetup app. If you MEETUP Meetup, if you search that on on the App Store on your iPhone or Android, whatever device you're using, or just even online, you can find a whole bunch of different networking events, and just like that's real estate investing related. So type in real estate investing as like in the search query, and you can search all different events that's going on in that area, and that way you can start getting in contact with people that are actually doing investing in your area. That's a great way to get your foot in the door. It's to meet people who are doing what you want to do, to find these potential mentors. And like he said, please don't go up to somebody and just say, hey, can you be my mentor? For one, they don't know you from anybody else in the place. And the big thing with people who ask that is they're seeking you to just literally tell them everything that you know. It's just like when we mentioned last week when we said, hey, can I pick your brain? Like, I don't know. We might not mention last week, but just in general, I think we said that a couple of episodes ago. Can I pick your brain? The reason people don't like hearing that is because a lot of people don't take action. It's so important to take action on what people tell you. And I promise you, we've heard it more times than just once already. I think I've heard it at least 5 to 10 times since we've been doing the podcast about, hey, can I just pick your brain for like the next, like just can we go to lunch one day? And I just want to talk to you about everything that you know. Imagine this. If I sit down with each person who asks that and just sit down with each one of them for an hour and tell them everything I know about how to get investing in real estate, how to flip houses, get rental properties, all that stuff. And then we both go our separate ways. I'll go back home. He goes back and does whatever. What if this person doesn't take action on what I told him? I spent an hour of my time teaching him everything I knew, like feeding into his life, his or her. I'm feeding into this person's life, like telling them everything that I know, and they don't take action on it. Now I've wasted an hour of my time, and now you multiply this by however many people you teach this to. So if I do 10 people at one, each all separately, I've spent 10 hours of my time teaching other people who don't take action.
Yeah,
I'd much rather do something like a podcast, a seminar, or some lecture series where I can reach a whole bunch of people at one time instead of just one at a time, where I'm spending an hour per person instead of 1 hour for, say, 50, 100 people. So that's why people don't like to hear, can I be your mentor? Can I pick your brain? Because now you're just giving them a job to do that they may not even see a return on their time. And that's very important for people that's trying to build a business, is their time. Yeah. If you want to ask a question in general, if you want to ask somebody a question like, say, me or Alex, I would ask something that it's like feasible. That's something that you can take action on immediately. Like, do you have a special book that you'll reference on a particular topic? Not just what books on real estate investing do you have? What are you interested in first? At least show them that you have thought about it somewhat. Hey, are you interested in flipping? Are you interested in rental properties? What are you interested in? That way we can quickly give you what you're looking for, and you can take action on that. People love when you show them that you are interested and that you are willing to take action. So by you coming up, knowing what you are looking for ahead of time, that prompts them to be like, hey, this dude might be serious. He might not just be a tire kicker. Like me and Alex always like joke about tire kickers. Yeah. but I think it just goes just without saying that people love people who take action, especially when it comes to real estate investing.
Yeah. Well said. Yeah. So let's get into, a little bit of more of the grunt stuff, the meat and potatoes of what we finna, be talking about, the core of your team. So the first thing we're going to talk about is your lead generators. So when I say lead generators, I'm essentially saying anyone that's going to be bringing you potential deals. So the first person the first lead generation source we want to talk about is real estate agents. So real estate agents are, as anyone y'all might know or may not know, anyone that sells real estate and has a license to sell real estate in that state. So that's really, as basic as I can put that. That's really all that is. But I kind of want to get into like what a good agent looks like and how you can find a good agent. So the first thing I want to say about it is a good agent, number one, is going to help you better understand the market and areas and the property types, right? They have a good knowledge base on all that. A good agent is also going to help you find comps through their access, because they have access of the MLS. So now you can know the value of any property. A good agent is going to help you set up automatic email alerts that are going to notify you for properties that match your search criteria, right? And notice what I said when I said, all those things. I preface it all by saying a good agent, because you got to be aware that there's a lot of trash agents out there. And most of them actually are trash. So there's a lot more bad ones than there are good ones. So what I want to do is kind of get into what makes a good agent. So number one, to me, the biggest thing for me that I look for in an agent is that they understand the investor mindset. They know they understand my perspective and where I'm coming from when I'm looking at deals, right? They know I'm not looking for something with cute backsplash or a big backyard for a dog. They know I'm looking, for stuff based off of ROI, appreciation. I need to make lowball offers. I might want to deal with foreclosures, and I need to know what current rents are, right? Those are things that those agents need to know. And they need to be familiar with that kind of stuff. So that being said, if they are investors themselves, that is a super plus. And there are many agents out there that are. So if you can find one that is that's a great thing. So another thing the second point that makes a good agent is one that is very responsive and also tech savvy. Those two kind of go hand in hand. But to me, this is super key because a responsive agent can be the key between you losing out on a deal and you actually getting a deal. I wouldn't say I've seen it firsthand, but I have seen it happen just because of slow agents. So you should be able to reach them, through email, text, or call, and they should be able to respond whenever. I'm not saying they should be responding at 3 a.m., but if they turning off their phone at 5 p.m., then look, that's not the agent you should be using. You need to be finding another agent. So that's what I want to say about that. The next thing that you need to be, looking for is an agent that is ambitious, someone that is passionate and dedicated about getting deals. And you're going to be able to tell these kind of people just by, talking to them in the aura that they're giving off and the vibe that they're giving off when you hear them talk about real estate, and how passionate they're getting about it. That's what you should be. That's what you should want in an agent. And also, when I'm talking about that, make sure you're the one that is communicating with that person and you're not communicating with their agent, with their assistant, right? You want to be in direct communication with them, not with their assistant. Another thing that's very important for an agent is that they have a large network. Real estate is a networking business. This is a relationship-based business. So the more people that you know, the more people they know. So your network grows as you meet other people, right? Because you meet their connect, or you have access to their connections now too. So they should know people and be willing to connect you to them, right? Contractors, lenders, insurance agents, etc. All those kind of people, they should know them and be able to connect you with them. And if they're a good agent too, they're going to know they're going to know other good people in the business, right? There's a saying that David Green, host of the Bigger Pockets podcast, uses. He says, rock stars know rock stars, right? Because the best agents are going to know the best lenders and the best, I wouldn't say the best contractors, but at least the best lenders and like insurance agents and that kind of stuff, right? And they're not going to one thing just to say about that is they're not going to recommend bad people to you because they know it's going to make them look bad. So that's very key to know. And the last point I want to make about a good agent, and this really should go without saying, but I feel like it really doesn't, is that they're honest and they have integrity. Because if they don't, those are the type of agents that are going to be encouraging you to buy a bad deal just because it's good for them. So you need to be aware of that. Honestly, you should test them and see how honest and how much integrity they have. You should send them a trash deal, a deal is trash, and see what their response about it is. If they say, "Oh yeah, let's go check it out," or something like that, I'm not saying that's a red flag, but that's saying that they really either, number one, they don't know what a good deal looks like, so they don't have a good grasp of that investor mindset, or number two, they're just trying to get one over you. So that's what I want to say about that. And the best way to find these people is honestly through referrals. Like I said, this is a relationship-based business, so you have to ask other people for their good agents and so on like that. So don't just use someone just because you know them. Because I know you probably listen to this right now and you're thinking of an agent that right now. They're like, oh yeah, I just use this guy or this girl. And no, I mean, like I said, most agents out there are bad. I'm not saying that person you're thinking of is bad, but very possible that they are, very likely that they could be. Honestly, you should be interviewing these people just to make sure they're a good fit. You should be asking them questions, right? Whenever you find an agent, you need to be asking them questions based off of the things that I just said, right? And you have you need to be able to like lay down exactly what it is that you want from them, and you have that written, and you're showing that you have ambition and passion, right? Ask them what they're good at. Ask them what they're bad at. The real honest agents are going to tell you what their weaknesses are. So,
and so again, a lot of good points Alex just made right there about finding the right agent. And like he said, good agents understand the market. They know what's going on. They know what buyers are looking for, and they have a strong pulse of the market. And I want to also clarify the best part about agents: they're free for you as a buyer, because you don't have to. So if you're looking to get into real estate, you don't have to worry about paying an agent to look for deals for you or to send you leads. They're literally free for you to use, and they help you out through the entire process of purchasing a new home or an investment. And the only time you do pay for them is on the sale end. When you sell your home, now you pay them their real estate commission. So when you're actually first going in or you're buying it, the seller pays your agent, and so that's what they're working for, that commission. So they want to find you something so somebody else can pay them for whatever deal they get to come to them. And just and Alex mentioned referrals earlier. That's how I found my agent when I was first moving out here to Lafayette, Indiana. I found mine from referral on Bigger Pockets, and like he said, referrals are definitely the best way to go with finding an agent, because somebody's used them before and they know that they're reputable. So I just thought that was a good point as well.
Yeah, definitely good point, especially about them being free. Last thing I want to say about agents is really don't rely on the agent also to be the sole decision maker in any deals you make. You just take the data that they give you, and you make the decision based off of that, right? You decide what it is you're going to do about that based off of what they sent you.
Yeah, that's another definitely good point as well. You want to do your own due diligence with anything that comes across.
Yeah.
But I know we mentioned agents, but there are also other lead generators that you can use when you're investing in real estate. And one of them that a lot of people have probably heard about but don't really know how they work is wholesalers. Wholesalers are very common when it comes to like when you're dealing with investors, like somebody who's looking for deals, because these are like the middlemen, I guess, and quote unquote. These guys are ones who actually have all the hustle. They're looking for the distressed homes. They get them under contract. They never actually spend any money. That's why a lot of people like them so much, or a lot of people want to be them, is because they don't have to really use a lot of their own money. But what is required is a lot of time and hustle. You have to really know what's going on in the market. You have to have time to go out and find these very good deals, because what's going to happen, you're going to get it under contract and you sell it at a what's called a wholesale fee. And so from an investor, from an investor perspective, you pay like $10,000 more than what the wholesaler got it for, but it's still a very good deal if it is a good deal, if it's a good wholesaler. So understand that, especially I want to make a special comment, because a lot of people really want to be wholesalers because they feel like they can get into real estate without using any money. Understand that you have to know a lot when it comes to, you have to know a lot about the market. You have to know a lot about all real estate terms when it comes to being a wholesaler. And so you need to know terms like ARV, the rehab costs. You need to have the experience with determining these rehab costs, estimating those. You need to have buyers in your network, because if nobody buys your place, guess what? You have it under contract still. So now you have to take ownership of that contract. So now you have to actually purchase the home your own self. So I don't know how you want to go about doing that if you have no money. So understand that that's a very time consuming. That's not something that's just that easy to get into. Since most people feel like it's so easy, understand also now you have to factor in competition. Competition is a big part when it comes to being wholesalers, because everybody thinks it's so easy. Everybody's trying to get into it. So there's a lot of people that's trying to do the same thing you're trying to do. So to answer me this, what makes you different than these millions of other wholesalers out there? So just keep that in mind as well. And I just want to make a little comment on the other few other lead generators. So other people who can help you out as far as providing you leads, like real estate deals, are other investors. They are very good with just once you have people in your network, people can start bringing you deals when they come across something. Like if they have a deal that they maybe don't want to act on, they may be able to bring it to you. And now you've created your own luck, because you network with that person, you build a relationship with somebody nowadays, and they know that you're reputable, and you will actually close on a deal. They'll bring you a deal like that, and that's another good way. And then lastly is Just anybody, like tell anybody what you tell any and everybody what you do. Like if you're a real estate investor looking for rental properties as as 3.2s, 1,200 square feet, tell everybody that. So now when somebody sees a property come up on the market or somebody that wants to sell it, sell their home that meets all these criteria, the first person they're gonna think about is you. And so that's why you want to tell everybody that you know, because at some point, luck is going to turn your way, and when somebody sees something that comes up, they're going to reference it to you right away.
Yeah, that's all good points. All good points, especially talking about of the wholesalers and utilizing other investors. You got to be able to leverage. Leverage is a very important concept in business and in real estate, especially. How are you leveraging your personal connections and your advantages to help you get an advantage over other people, right? You have to be able to know how to leverage all your resources, and but telling people, everyone, what you do, and just networking within your own personal network is one of the best ways to do that. So that's a good point. The next person on your team that you should be trying to acquire is your lender. So this is arguably the most important person on your team, because this is, if you don't have cash, how you're going to be financing your deals. That being said, if you do have cash, you can just fast forward this and go to the next part of this podcast where we talk about the next person. So I kind of want to get into the types of lenders and the type of lendings that they do, just to cover all our bases on this. So the first lender, which is the most common one, are the large national banks, right? These are your Chases, your Wells Fargos, your Frost banks. These are the banks that are, franchise, well, not necessarily franchise, but they have branches all over the world, really. So these banks, typically what they do, they offer conventional financing. So conventional financing is just any sort of financing that is just a normal loan that is typically going to be sold in the secondary market to Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac. So what happens is these banks like Chase and Wells Fargo, they may originate the mortgages, and what they'll do is sell them off on the secondary market to someone like Fannie Mae or Freddie Mac, right? And they don't typically hold those loans in their actual portfolio. They sell them to someone else to manage them. So typically, in order to get a conventional loan or conventional financing, they look at the borrower themselves as opposed to the actual, anything else. They're looking at the borrower to see that they are qualified for this loan, right? They're looking at your financial situation in a whole, your credit score, your income, your DTI, all your credit history. They're looking at all that. And then and only then will they lend you something, right? It's not 2007 anymore when they were giving out some subprime loans that were, pretty much causing the whole, downfall of the economic market in 2008. They were just giving out loans to anyone. If you were breathing, you was getting a loan back then. So it's not like that anymore. It's only, you got to be very qualified to get an investment loan these days, because typically what happens with investment loans is they're only going to lend on properties that are, number one, move-in ready, right? And this is typically why I don't recommend starting here unless you want to buy turnkey rental properties or any turnkey properties in general. They're only gonna lend on anything that has move-in ready, not lending on anything that needs that needs major work, right? But so because of this, it's a low risk loan, right? So they typically have lower interest rates that show that, but because it is an investment loan, they do require higher down payments, and these are typically between 20 to 30%, depending on the property and also depending on the lender. So that's the most common type of lender out there, which is large national banks that do conventional financing.
Yep, all good points on the large national banks. Like he said, they have a lot more requirements that you need to meet before you even can get the loan. So I want to talk about the next most common used one is the local community banks, credit unions, and portfolio lenders. So I mean, these are all essentially one and the same. So really what you hear in real estate is they're referred to as, like I said, the last one is portfolio lenders. These are guys who originate their mortgages in-house, and what you always hear is that they keep them on their own books. So essentially this bank owns a portfolio of loans, and that so when they lend you money, they don't sell it to Fannie Mae or Freddie Mac. They keep it on their own books, like I said earlier. So because of this, they can lessen the requirements that you have to meet in order to qualify for whatever loan it may be, because they're not selling it to Fannie Mae or Freddie Mac, who has all their own. Exactly, they have their own requirements that they need you to meet. But just the downside of this, you have to worry about higher interest rates maybe, or they may charge more points. A point is usually a percentage of whatever the loan is. So say if they say 1 point, that's usually represented as 1% of the loan. So as a quick example, if you get $100,000 loan, 1 point means that you pay 1% or $1,000 of that of your loan amount.
Yeah, and just to comment on that too, the best portfolio lenders when it comes to investments, and the ones that will probably give you the best rates and terms and all of that are the ones that have less than 5 branches. The ones that are super small. Anyone that has more than a few branches, then they have more regulations because they have other factors to put in there. But if they have a few branches, then those are the best ones because they're able to really pick and choose who they want to lend to and how they want to lend to you. So that's a good point on that. The next type of lender, I guess, is a mortgage broker. This is pretty much, they don't necessarily originate any loans. They just help you find financing options from various lenders. When I say originate a loan, I'm saying that is the primary person that's the primary lender that is giving you that loan. Because typically what happens when you originate a loan, you have the bank that originates it, and they'll give it to the debtor, which is the person taking out the loan, or they'll give that mortgage to that person. But sometimes they'll sell it off to Fannie Mae or Freddie Mac, and then at that point, that's not now the person that owns the loan is not the person that originated it. Right. So when I say the mortgage broker, that's just saying that's someone that's going to help you find another lender. Anyways, the next type of lender is a mortgage company. This is pretty much, it's essentially a bank, but they only lend on mortgages, right? Their sole purpose is to originate mortgages. That's all they do. They'll originate your mortgage and then they might sell it off. They don't lend on anything else like banks do. Banks lend on cars and other stuff, but a mortgage company just only lends on loans or mortgages, obviously. So those are two that I wanted to add in there with conventional financing. But the next type that I want to get into is the hard money lender. So hard money lender, I'm not sure if you've heard that term, but this is essentially a institutionalized private money lender. So hard money, that term in itself means that they are lending against a hard asset, right? Rather than the borrower. The hard asset is the property. So that's the collateral in the deal. They don't necessarily care about the borrower's characteristics as a borrower like a bank might. They don't necessarily care, and I'm not saying they don't, because they will still check, but they're not as strict with, you need to have this credit, you need to have this income, you need to have this amount of debt. They are a lot more lenient on that kind of stuff because all they care about is how good the deal is. They don't necessarily care about who the borrower is or what their financial situation looks like. Because you got to think of it from their perspective, right? Let's say you're an investor and you find a house worth $100,000 and you find it for $30,000, right? So from the lender's perspective, the best case scenario, you're going to borrow the money, rehab the house, then you're going to sell it and pay back their loan while you're paying them interest, right? It's a win-win situation for both teams. That's what they both want, right? But in the worst case scenario, you're going to default on the loan and you're not going to be able to pay it. They end up losing the $30,000, but now they have a house worth $100,000 that they can essentially sell for, even $40,000 or $50,000 and make back their $30,000 plus that profit, right? So the better the deal is, the more likely there is to lend on you, regardless of what your personal financial situation is. And that's why they're called hard money lenders. They lend on the hard asset as collateral, which is the property. So typically though, the downfall usually for them, and this has really changed, but they're known for having higher interest rates and, charging a lot of points. Typically in the past, they I would say as of recently, I'm seeing, hard money rates that you can get for, 10%, 12%. So that's to me not bad. But, in the past, it was a lot higher, 15%. So I think a lot of that has just been, a byproduct of how good the market has been. So there's just a lot of money that's floating around there so that they can, they're trying to make money too. So anyways, that's typically one of the downfalls. You do have higher interest rates, but if the deal's good, and it really doesn't matter what the interest rate. You can charge me 20%, but if I'm still making my profit and my margin, that's fine. It's a win-win for both of us.
Yeah, that's a lot of good points. Like he said, hard money lenders are institutionalized private money lenders. The best thing about them, because they're often used very much so when it comes to real estate investing, they're great because they lend on distressed properties, because they've been investors themselves. They know what it takes to be an investor. Like they know that you're supposed to purchase distressed properties to add value. So they're actually they have a pulse on how that all works out. Unlike the conventional loan system where they want to lend on everything that's turnkey. So that's why a lot of investors use them. And last point I want to make, well, I guess in reference to hard money lenders, I think private money lenders is another one that's closely related, except now instead of being institutionalized, now these are just like your high net worth individuals, people who are well off, and they just basically want to return on their money. This can even be your family member. Like this can be anybody that just has a high net worth or a lot of cash reserves that just want to make a better return than, like, say, the stock market or high yields savings account. Like instead of getting 5%, they may want 10% that you can make in real estate. So now you can negotiate with these people a little bit more because it's not regulated any certain way. Like they don't even worry about your credit usually. As long as they can see a good track record of you doing successful deals, they ain't worried about none of that stuff that the banks are worried about. Yeah. But I do want to caution people with using private money lenders. So say if your grandma has $100,000 sitting under her mattress, and you tell her, "Hey, Granny, I want to do my first investment deal with using your money. I'll get you a return on it." I would never do that because I'm entrusting in my grandmother, my flesh and blood, to do my first investment deal. Use these private money lenders only when you have had some experience, know what you're doing, and know you can truly get a return on your money. Because I promise you, in real estate, you will fail at some point. It's not saying that you are going to always be successful. So, especially in the beginning, I would definitely tread in the shallow end, because I wouldn't want to dive into deep end too quickly, because you may not even know what you're getting yourself into.
Yeah, definitely. That's a good point. And I would say too, just to build off of that, don't use anyone unless you don't know until you know what you're doing. Shoot, it's just gonna hit a little harder, if you use your family member and you lose their money. But it's still gonna hurt if you lose anyone with money. But it'll hurt a little more when you lose grandma money. So, anyways, the last part that I want to talk about before we switch to the next team member is the equity partner. So, an equity partner, essentially, depending on how you structure it can be almost a private lender in a sense. But most of the time, equity partners are essentially just someone that's going to partner on the deal with you, but they're going to fund a majority of it, if not all of it, right? So, typically, how they're structured, and this is how I've heard, usually what they do is, they'll have someone that's trying to get into investing, and they'll find a great deal, bring it to someone that wants to partner with them. And they might say, okay, if the person that has the money will say, okay, you do 100% of the work and we're going to split the profits 50-50 or some variation of that. Now, some people might hear that and be like, what? That ain't fair. I'm going to do all the work and we're going to split the profits 50-50. Well, yeah, how else you going to get this deal? I mean, that's the only way you're going to get this deal. So look, 50% of one deal is better than 100% of no deal at the end of the day. So just know that you'd rather have something than nothing. So, I mean, shoot, that's to me, a good situation. At the end of the day, all you're trying to do is get your foot in the door and get into the game. And if, your first deal isn't going to make you rich anyway. So you need to be able to just understand that and take whatever terms they offer you, unless they're just ridiculous. But yeah, anyways, we're going to talk more about financing, specifically about financing in a future episode in this series and touch more in detail about it. But we kind of just wanted to touch on the different types of lenders. So moving on to the next person of your team, next team member, it's your contractor. So the contractor, finding a good contractor is one of, if not the toughest job for an investor. And you can ask almost any investor that is actively investing in, distressed properties, and they'll tell you the same thing. I can guarantee you that. Why is this? It's because, well, you got to understand that contractors, they aren't necessarily good business owners. They are contractors. They don't know how to operate. Most of them don't know how to operate businesses. Just because they can, repair a kitchen or swing a hammer or something like that, that doesn't necessarily mean that they can operate a business. That doesn't mean that they have that business savviness to them. They're good at their trade, right? Not necessarily at the business of it and the logistics of it. So also another reason that it's so tough is because the best contractors are going to be the most expensive ones. So that typically means that it's going to, make your margins worse as an investor. Might not be, their prices might not be suitable for for the deal that you're trying to use. So what we want to do is kind of go through some tips for finding good contractors and being able to get some of those on your team. So first tip is to be proactive in your search for contractors, right? Make sure you're looking when you don't need one. Be proactive, not reactive. You don't want to be in a situation where you get a deal and now you need a contractor. No, you need to have that contractor in line already. Then, you get your deal and you call your contractor and say, hey, come check out this crib I got. Can you come, give me a bid on it, right? You should always be on the lookout. Ask everyone if they have one. I know me, whenever I'm driving and if I see a truck with a contractor, their business logo on it, I always try to take a picture of it and just keep it just in case for future references. You never know. I've called some of them before, so that's the first tip. The next tip, and this is more of something that you need to, understand on your own, is you need to know the difference between price versus cost, right? So price is what you pay for something one time, but cost is the long-term amount you pay over its life, right? So for example, if let's say you have two fridges, right? You got fridge A over here and it's $600, and you got fridge B over here and it's $800. But fridge A might cost $30 more per month to actually operate in terms of like its energy usage, right? So fridge B would actually be the better choice. So just because one is, cheaper doesn't necessarily mean it's the better one, right? And this applies to contractors too. You have to ask yourself, are you hiring, for price or cost? If you hire someone because their price is cheap, you're going to get what you pay for, right? And I could tell you firsthand with our property that we had, the last deal that we did here in San Antonio, we had a contractor who was very garbage. Never will be using him again. And he redid the bathroom in the master bathroom in one of the houses. And the lady that bought the house, this was like 3 weeks after she closed. She messaged me and she was like, "Hey, the water is busting through the tiles in my shower and it just leaked all into my bathroom and all through the walls, soaked all her walls and into the bedroom and destroyed all the bedroom carpet, all because of the way he installed the shower." And so, what does that tell me? We got what we paid for. It was a good price, but obviously he wasn't good quality work. So you got to be able to understand that you might think that you got a good deal, but in the long run, you can always end up spending way more on that service, right? So honestly, you had to be it's kind of like you got to be able to just pick two, right? You got to be able to it's either between price, quality, or service. You got to pick two of those, right? You can get price and quality, price and service, quality and service, but you can't have all three of them. It's not going to happen. So if you do, that's a unicorn. Send it my way, please. I would very appreciate that. But yeah, the next thing that I want to mention too is, kind of talk about, how to find these contractors. The best way to me is asking for referrals, right? Like I said, I can say it for every person. This is a relationship-based business. Everyone that is, on your team, you can find just by asking for referrals and asking around, right? That's the best way. Another way, and a lot of people do this, you can go to Home Depot or Lowe's at 6 a.m. and just, look for contractors up there. Shit, it gets the job done. They're up there. If you see a contractor up there that early, that might be an indication that they're actually a good contractor because they're up early before they go out to their job site to, get their things ready. So that's one thing I want to mention too. And also, you should, be looking for multiple contractors. Don't just be looking for one, because when you look for multiple, that keeps each one of them honest, right? And make sure any one of them isn't overcharging you. So you have to be able to, look for multiple and put them against each other and see who's, actually being honest. Because if one person is charging you, $90,000 and another person is charging you $50,000 for one job, someone is lying. and you got to be able to see who that is. So
I mean, there's so many good points from you giving those points on the contractors in particular. I'm glad you told the story about our experience with our most recent flip because, like we said, everything in real estate isn't always beautiful. There's good times, there's definitely bad times. I don't want to sugarcoat nothing by making everything seem like it's so glamorous because it's not always going to be that way. And you got to be ready for those moments and not go in expecting everything to be perfect. And same thing with spending money. People are very opposed to like this. This why we're having this episode in general because people don't want to have people on their teams when they start investing in real estate because they don't want to spend money on these people. But these people are very vital to you having a successful real estate investing career. Yeah. And just so when we talk about choosing the right contractor, not saying it to scare you, talking about how we gave you that story, which telling you how important it is to find the right one that will help you prosper as a real estate investor in general. And understand that a lot of contractors are bad out, like a lot of contractors that are out there are not good ones. So that's why yeah, except like the vast majority of them are not going to be good ones. So it's important to just cipher through them all, figure out which one is the correct one. That's why Alex mentioned getting multiple bids and seeing who's overcharging you, who isn't. You also want to just build a relationship with them as well, just to see who's going to show up. Because I understand time is money, and if they're not showing up, that means that you're paying your hard money lenders, you're paying whatever lender that you have loan to you a whole bunch more money because they're not showing up and those months are adding up. So be sure that you vet your contractors very well, and don't just get like handyman Hank who just is going to charge you pennies on the dollar of what other contractors are charging you, because that's a very quick way to get your shower, your bathroom flooded, just like we experienced. Yep. So I keep on talking about how people don't want to spend money. Another team member that a lot of people don't like to spend money on, but is also very vital, are the property managers. And this is the last one of the core four that David Green from Bigger Pockets had mentioned. Property managers are specifically for rental properties in particular. So if you're looking to be a landlord, property managers are somebody that you definitely want to have on your team because they are the ones who will deal directly with the tenants. They're the ones who will advertise the room for rent. They are the ones who will report any damages that have been done to the property, and then they'll be the ones that will actually find people to go fix it for you. I mean, you can let them know who you want them to have fix it, but ultimately they are the ones who will manage the property, not you. And this allows you to have that time freedom that real estate investing is all about, because you don't want to buy yourself a job. Like I keep saying, you want to have it as a passive investment. So understand that yes, while you may have to pay for them, understand that also they are giving you that time freedom that you're ultimately in this for. So just understand, like, they may have a startup fee when you first pay for them, and they usually charge anywhere around 8 to 10% of what the rents are per month. So just so we will get a lot more into that on analyzing deals episode that we have later on in this series, but just in general, I just want to mention property managers. That's somebody a lot of people don't take into account when they looking for team members. And on the flip side of things, this would be your general contractor. So these also can be called your project managers, but in general, these are the general contractors. They work hand in hand with the contractors that we mentioned earlier. General contractors are more so the overseer, the one who is making sure all the subcontractors get their work done in a timely manner. You want to be on like one accord with your general contractor, because these are the guys who are going to ensure that your project gets done within the 2-month, 3-month limit that you have to make sure your deal is profitable. So, and they also report to you any unforeseen damages, like say if you have mold, you have termites, asbestos, whatever it may be. These are guys that you want to be in close communication with at all times. That way you can make sure your flip business is also profitable.
Yeah, definitely. Those are great points too. And I'm glad you talked about both of them for property manager and GC. One thing I want to add to both of them too, for the property manager, in the beginning, it is okay if you manage the property yourself. You don't necessarily need to find a property manager immediately. If it's just your first property, single family house, duplex, triplex, quadplex, you can manage it yourself. Especially if it's in your area. If it's out of your area or not in your, in your own where you live, in the city you live, then yes, you need a property manager. But if it's in your area, you can manage it yourself in the beginning too. As far as the GC, one thing I want to say too is you might have to manage them too to make sure that they're doing it right? So you had to manage the manager sometimes, especially that's, like I said, flipping is a job, and that's a part of the job description. You got to be able to manage the managers, right? You are the CEO of that business that you are running, so you have to be able to manage everyone beneath you, and that includes the GC. So that's all great points too. So, and just to close out this episode, one thing I want to say too, to comment on all of the people that we talked about. Who did we talk about today? We talked about the mentor. We talked about your agent. We talked about wholesalers, investors, all those lead generators. And then we talked about your lender, your contractor, and your property managers, right? Mm-hmm. One thing I want to comment on about all of these people is if any of them don't perform well, it's on you. It's not on them, right? You made the choice to hire those people. So you have to take the responsibility if they don't perform well, right? It's like, think of it like, I mean, in sports, you're like the GM of the team, right? So if you draft someone and they don't work out, it's on the GM. They're not going to blame the actual player. I mean, yeah, they'll say you're trash, but I mean, at the end of the day, the GM is the one that drafted them and picked them to come join this team. So look, if you pick someone and they join the team, then it's on you if they are good or not. So it's important to, go through these steps and be able to pick someone that is good and make sure that you're doing that due diligence on your end.
And just to close out with like some closing remarks on everything that we talked about today, understand that investing is not meant to be a job, but it can quickly turn into one if you are trying to do everything that we outlined in here by yourself. So if you are trying to wait until you raise enough capital to pay for stuff in cash, if you're waiting to manage properties yourself, if you're trying to do all the rehab yourself, you're going to wear yourself out almost immediately. Like I promise you, almost all the investors that are trying to do something like that, they either quit before they ever get started, or they quit after the first one or during the first one. And so understand that that is not the way to go. Build your team members up, because they are going to be the ones that make your real estate investing career thrive. But also, even though they are the ones that are going to make it thrive, understand also that they're going to cost money. So that's why next episode, we want to start talking a little bit more about how to factor in these costs into your deal analysis. That way, when you go into a deal, you know that it still can be profitable with all these people on your team.
Yes, sir. Great tie into the next episode next week. So anyways, that's it for this episode of the Money Monopolizers podcast. New episodes will be released every Thursday and will be available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and YouTube. Just search Money Monopolizers wherever you listen to podcasts. We hope you learned something of value today. If you did, we'd appreciate it if you rated us and left us a review on Apple Podcasts. You can also find out more info about us on Twitter at The Monopolizers or on IG at Money Monopolizers. We post informative content on there that'll keep you engaged. So check that out and share those posts. But until then, we out of here.
You've been listening to the Money Monopolizers podcast, helping you take control of your financial destiny. To learn more about how you can be in control of your money, visit moneymonopolizers.com. We'll catch you next time when Alex and Marlon share more personal finance and wealth creation tips with you. Now it's time to take action.